100 years ago, at 11 o'clock in the morning on November 11, 1918, the guns fell silent on the Western Front. The end of World War I set in motion a new course for Europe and remains an important facet of European politics. The bloody war that lasted more than 4 years stole a generation of mostly men from both sides. Here are some things to know about the Great War as it was called. Let's get into it. 1. In America, suspicion of the Germans was so high that even German shepherd dogs were killed. The names of Frankfurters, Hamburgers, Sauerkraut, and Dachshunds were all changed to American names. German stopped being taught in schools, and German language books were banned. Before the war, it had been the second most widely spoken language in the U.S. 2. Explosions in Ypres in France were heard in London. British forces dug tunnels and laid approximately £1 million worth of explosives underneath German lines outside Messines. British soldiers on the scene were reportedly knocked off their feet, and those in France mistook the vibrations for an earthquake. The Messines detonations are considered to be one of the largest human-caused pre-nuclear era explosions. The detonations destroyed much of the German front line and were so great that the Prime Minister of Britain heard the sound in London, some 140 miles away. 3. World War I saw pioneering advances in modern medicine. Inspired by the sight of soldiers' faces ravaged by shrapnel, many of which remained covered by masks, Harold Gillies established the field of plastic surgery, pioneering the first attempts at facial reconstruction. Also, blood transfusions became routine to save soldiers, with the first blood bank established on the front line in 1917. 4. Franz Ferdinand's license plate was the cause of a strange coincidence. Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife were assassinated on June 28, 1914, an event that led to the beginning of the war. Strangely, the Archduke's number plate read A111118, a series that can be read as Armistice 11, November 1918. 5. The indestructible pigeon. Despite being shot through the breast, losing an eye, and having one leg hanging on by just one tendon, carrier pigeon Cher Ami managed to fly through a hail of bullets to deliver a message that saved over 100 American troops. The pigeon was awarded the Croix de Guerre, one of France's highest military honors. 6. Improvised gas masks. Astonishingly, soldiers were not issued with gas masks at the start of the war. Until they became standard issues, men stuffed rags and socks soaked in urine into their mouths to try to prevent the inhalation of deadly fumes. 7. Boys will be boys. Unofficial brothels sprung up behind the front lines during the war. Despite the best efforts of the military authorities to stop their men from visiting these premises, 400,000 British soldiers were treated for venereal disease. 8. Buried treasure. Soldiers digging trenches in the fields of Flanders often came across weaponry from the Duke of Wellington's Waterloo campaign of 1815. They also found muskets from even further back in time, from the War of the Spanish Succession of the 1710s. 9. Lions led by donkeys. One of the myths of the war is that the generals were safely ensconced miles behind the front lines, while the ordinary soldiers fought and died in the mud and blood of the trenches. While it is true that many senior officers never saw active duty, this wasn't always the case. Throughout the war, 78 British generals were killed. 10. Vengeance at Versailles. French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau picked the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles for the peace negotiations, because that was where the Germans had declared the German Empire. The Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1919. It came into effect on January 10, 1920. Germany was forced to accept full responsibility for the war, give up vast amounts of territory, and pay $31.4 billion in reparations. The result, as France wanted, crippled Germany. On October 3, 2010, Germany paid off the last debt set by the Treaty of Versailles. The global economic crisis in 1931 and the rise of Adolf Hitler to power saw a cut-off trend of paying annually. 11. One battle lasted 300 days. The Battle of Verdun lasted from February to December 1916. The Germans managed to surprise the French, and the heavy use of artillery accounted for 70% of the estimated 800,000 casualties. 9 French towns were completely destroyed, and while they were never rebuilt, they still appear on maps today. 12. The last veteran. The last surviving veteran of the war from any country is thought to be Florence Green. She was an officer's mess stewardess in the Women's Royal Air Force in 1918. She passed away in 2012 at the age of 110. That's what we prepared for you in this segment. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, and do not forget to subscribe and become part of the family. Have a nice one and see you in a bit.